Hello, everyone, and welcome to Barefoot Hope Podcast. And I'm Debbie Terry. And today I have my guest with me,
Susan Lahrs.
And Susan today is going to share her testimony and her story with us. Welcome. It's good to see you.
You too.
Yes. I have a verse today. Sometimes I have a verse that's given to me before that, and sometimes I don't. But today I have a certain verse that was given to me right up front, and I wanted to share that before you shared your testimony and story. It is actually in 1 James and James 1:27, and it says, "Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world." So, let you start.
Okay, well, I guess I will start with that instead of going way back.
Oh, yeah. It's fine. Whatever you feel like you need to tell.
But I've been a widow for 5 years, and my mom was also a widow, and so it's been a hard thing, just little things that you have to, well, they can be big things, like how to turn your water off.
Yeah. Mow your yard.
Yeah, who's going to mow your yard? I can't mow my yard, it's huge.
Yes.
So things like that. And but it was totally unexpected. And in fact, the next day we were going to go on vacation on a cruise.
Yeah. Yes.
And he was a minister at our church, and he was mowing the yard. He loved to be there all the time. And so he was mowing the yard, and he didn't have a safety bar on the lawnmower, and he was going up an incline, and it just fell back on him.
Oh.
And there was I guess a reservoir where some water is, maybe 2 inches of water, but probably drowned in the 2 inches.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know. I'm sorry to hear that. Yes.
So when they called, a friend of ours from church called because he was trying to learn Spanish because he loved going to Ecuador. And he was supposed to be at that class, and they couldn't find him. And so the friend went out, to the back of the church and was looking, and then she called my daughter. And she just said, "You need to get here right away." And so, my daughter came and got me, and I just got in that car and I drove like I've never drove before.
Oh, yeah.
And a policeman, it's funny now, but a policeman got behind me, and I thought, I can't stop,
Yes,
they're
that's
supposed
right.
to help me, so I'm just going to keep on going.
Yes.
Well, then another policeman, then another one, and then and Anna says, "Mom, I think you need to stop." And I was, almost at the church, but I stopped, and, and I was just shaking all over. It's just like I knew, and the one policeman on my daughter's side said, "When you see, a whole bunch of police cars behind you, you need to stop, But I looked at that policeman that was beside me, who's very compassionate, and I said, "Is my husband okay? Is he okay?" And he seen me shaking, and he asked Anna if she could drive the rest of the way, and he'll say, we'll take you there.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. He gives us the glory, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that policeman was very compassionate. And so I get there, and my first instinct's to run down there, but they will not let me.
Yes.
And so I know it's bad, and I keep on asking, is my husband okay? And I don't know why they waited, to me it seemed like forever.
Oh.
But I think one of my church members came up to me and told me. And I just lay flat on the ground and started screaming, crying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
Because, we struggled the first probably 8 years of our marriage, and it wasn't good. We had to go through a lot of counseling, and he went through The Bondage Breaker. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Oh, yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
he went through that a whole year with a Christian counselor, and it it just totally changed his life from that point on. And he was just, he just wanted to serve Jesus everywhere and anywhere. He was just
free.
Any way he could. Yeah, he was very free, very free. And he grew up with an alcoholic father, and I grew up with an abusive father. So a lot of times you don't talk about that when, in your family. You're not supposed to talk about those things. Yeah. So when we got married, one of our huge problems is we didn't communicate.
Yes.
We're just like, just kind of.
And mow it over.
Yeah, mow it over.
It'll keep going.
Yeah, so that's one of the things we had to learn, and we did, and we had got through all that, and so I just didn't understand, I don't understand, and he had this ministry, and I was like, why would God take him now, But he did have a lot of physical problems, and also his grandmother, mother, and my mother had died. We had a lot of deaths in our family. And he was so close to his mother, and he had gotten into a huge depression that he just, couldn't come out of. It was really hard. But he would still go do things for the church, and that's one thing that made him happy. So, but I guess I was in shock for, I guess how I got through the funeral,
yes.
Really. And, but, I hadn't seen him the next day. I still hadn't seen him, and I kept on asking my pastor, I want to see him. I want to say goodbye,
Yes.
And so when we got to the funeral home, I was like, I want to see him. And so my pastor said, can I go in first and just look at him before you go? And I said, okay. And so he did. He came back, and he told me, he's blue, and his arm was hurt. They had it covered, and do you want to see him? I said, yes. And so, we went to see him.
Oh, yeah.
But I knew that he was with God, and I knew he was with his mom, and everybody that had. That he'd missed so much.
What a blessing.
Later I think, well, if he hadn't gone there, he'd probably been, when COVID came, because he would have been right out there. He wouldn't have listened.
Yes.
And he would be ministering to people. And,
yes. Fearless.
Yeah.
I
mean, God knows. I don't know, why he had to go. I don't know. But, they say you go through, 5 or 7 steps of grief.
Yes.
I remembered them at one time.
Stages of
grief.
Yes.
And they don't tell you that sometimes you can go through them.
Multiple times.
Yeah, in a single day maybe,
Yes.
And then, just little things like, you think, okay, I'm doing good. And I was in Hobby Lobby, and there's this little couple, holding hands, and I thought, just lost it. I got to get out of here.
Yes, yes.
So, little things like that. And I just really missed him, and my kids, it was horrible. My daughter, my youngest daughter, was at church camper. I feel like God did it this way. She always was with him to help him.
Oh, so.
Always. And but she happened to be at church camp that week. So,
that was just a blessing.
Yeah. And they were super close. And she was the only one left in the house, and he died. And she was adopted. And she always felt like, how sometimes adopted, they don't believe that we love them, which I remember with all my heart. And David did too.
Oh, yes.
And but anyway, when she turned 18, the first thing her mother did was contact her on Facebook and promised her all this big stuff. And she had like 2 or 3 months to graduate from high school, and I wanted her to do that so bad.
Oh, yes.
And we were kind of at each other, because she was, just acting out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure she didn't know what in the world.
All the confusion, and being a teenager.
Her father's not there.
And her father's not there.
They did everything together.
Yes.
And so, her mother, natural mother, came down to get her and was going to move her up there 3 months before she's going to graduate from high school. And I actually had a worker there because, things that I was thinking I was going to sell my house. So I had a worker there trying to fix things that I had no idea how to fix, which is very overwhelming.
Right.
And
that's right.
And maybe this happened because that worker needed. I think he had struggled in his life too. But anyway, she came and got her, and she left, and I just turned to that worker. And just started bawling my eyes out because I thought, here I've lost something else.
Yes.
And he just
something else taken away.
He didn't know,
He's probably like, okay. But that is so wonderful that God supplied him there for
he was
you.
there,
A total stranger to be able to lean on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Even that, I think God worked on it because she did go, to Nashville, and things wasn't like she thought they would be.
Yes.
And she went through a horrible time. And but one thing that she came to know in her heart is that we do love her. Yes. We are her family. Her sisters love her. They're her family.
Thank God.
And so that was a huge thing to me.
Yes.
She knows that we love her because I was so sad that she thought, that we didn't.
Yes. That abandonment that they have, which comes in with the fatherless in that verse. It's just, God is so good to heal, isn't he?
Yeah.
And so
I think she had a healing in that way in it. And it was so wonderful to me that we were close, and we're still close.
Yes. So. Oh, that is so super sweet.
So.
I'm so glad, and he has worked so much through your life. And, you're an accomplished businesswoman, and he gave you the means to do what you needed to do, and gave you the people that you needed to, and I cannot imagine, what it is to be a widow. I can't. And but I know what it is to lose something that you hold so dear to your heart. And, they say divorce is like death. They say that. And at the same time, that is someone that's still there and the person who has passed is not.
Right.
So it's such a different situation, too, at the same time. So, and the kids, they're all doing great today.
They are.
Oh, the Lord's blessed you.
Yes.
So much with grandchildren.
I have 2 grandchildren.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, yes, they are. I saw some pictures of them. So, and if you were given widow advice out there and someone that's newly widowed, let's talk about that, because I feel like in my heart that there's people that just maybe have just stepped into this that need to hear this podcast, that need, and even their children need to know there's a hope there. It's okay that God is going to be there beside them. So can you kind of share what that looks like a little bit with us?
I think he was, he's been there, the whole entire time I went through this. But, he's always been in my life since I was a 9-year-old girl. And when I got saved, and like I said, I grew up in an abusive home, and so I knew, and I felt, I've always known he was there. Yes. But what I didn't know is I was kind of angry at him.
It's okay.
Because, and then I read something, God can handle it. He's God, you can handle your anger. But I was. I kind of like, why did you do that? And so I had to work through that, and that was one thing. And then I would just, sometimes I would just cry at night, and I couldn't quit crying, and I just, and this is kind of silly, but on his side of the bed, I would just put stuff there.
Yes, I understand.
And because he's not there, so I just put books or something there, and I still do to this day.
Yes.
That's good though.
Yeah.
You know, that is so good because someone going through that just maybe not even think about that. Not even, that empty space there that's all of a sudden there. And just to have something. Some people have children that come and sleep with them and fill that space, but if you have an empty bed, it's yes, and that's another thing even with that correlates with the divorce for those women. All of a sudden you've got an empty bed.
And all the responsibility is on you.
Yes,
All
yes.
the bills are on you. All the house maintenance,
Yes.
which was overwhelming to me. All that's on you. So.
It's so good that God was just right there.
Yeah, and even with the house things, He's always brought someone to help me.
Yes, yes, that's a good thing. You're right.
To help me.
Yes.
So.
And how about those bills and things? How He just, delivered. I mean, for those that's newly widowed, wondering where their next bill is going to be paid or what's going to happen.
I always tell people, my friends, my young friends too, that you always get life insurance. Me and David would not have had it if it happened in for Alexis because we were going to go on a mission trip and we were worried, like if both of us died, what would happen to her?
Yes.
We wanted to make sure she was took care of. So we made a will at that time, and if it went for that, we wouldn't have had one.
Right.
So that was made. So that really helped when he died, and also we had life insurance. If we hadn't, I would have lost my home.
Yes.
So
Such
and
a
I know
blessing.
that some widows do, and you have to go
Yes.
through such a hard time with that. But I didn't have to go through that, but I feel for people that do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So important to know. Get your paperwork together.
Yeah.
And definitely while they're still living. Because I know some people don't want to address that,
They don't. They don't want to
It's
do
hard.
a will. They don't want to, life insurance and stuff like that. But, I have everything now. I have a will. I have a trust. I have
Yes.
a living will.
Yes. Yes.
Everything that I think that I would need. And also, I don't want that on my children to have to deal with.
Right. And through that heartache, you really got prepared. That's for the future for yourself. It's unfortunate, but it was nice to have it. So, and the kids, they have been able to lean on their understanding of the Lord.
Yes.
And, and I'm so grateful that you all were a Christian family, though, even though you still had your troubles and your trials and your tribulations, you knew God. I can't imagine the families that go through this that don't know God. I know that He's still there helping them, no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether they see it or not.
Right.
I feel that. Right. And, He wants everyone to come to Him. And it's just so I would hope those who don't have Him that's going through this would seek Him and be able to, find God, find His love. Because we were talking about Alexis, right? Your daughter who was adopted. And, someone said to me, back to that verse, it was talking about the fatherless. And, recent years, I even realized myself that God's a great father.
Yes,
and, even if you haven't, you have a father here on earth that, you don't see, or someone who has left this earth as David did, to go be with the Father. It's so wonderful to have a Father in heaven who cares about us, who loves us, and that love is like no other, And I'm so grateful that Alexis found that love, knowing through you as parents who adopted her. That's so great that she was able to finally realize that too. So many situations in your life that touch so many different people. It's just amazing, Is there anything that you think that probably like a widow should know, like when you're reaching out to them and you're talking to them, if you were just to look in that camera right now and tell them something, what do you think that would be that you would give them as far as just a advice and a hope?
Well, I would tell them to, lean on God, lean on your family. If you have a church, my church was just wonderful to me and a great support of my pastor. I don't know what I would have done if they hadn't been there. And my really, really good friends, they all surrounded me. And so just support, get as much as support you can. And, lean on God, read your Bible. There's so much peace there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And how about the groups? Did you have any groups that you
I did.
would suggest?
I was trying to remember the book my niece gave me right when David died. And it had a group. But then I also got, there's several widow groups on Facebook. And I went there. And it was nice because they're going through what you're going through in different ways. They all have their different stories, but the same pain, and they understand. I mean, one day I went home and I was just in my garage crying, and I just started screaming, crying. Nobody's there.
Yes.
Just get it all out. And I'm thinking, I'm losing it. I'm just so weird. But then you get on that group, and they've done the same thing, So.
Yes. I think we can all share that feeling.
Yeah.
And you talked about being angry with God and how that person, individual said, and it's okay. He already knows you're angry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like you feel like, oh my, I can't be, but he knows your heart anyways.
Yeah.
So he already knows you're angry with him, and he understands that because that's the flesh in us, and he knows those feelings and those emotions are going to come up. He's prepared for that. He's a big God, like was said, he can handle it all. And if anything, I want people to know, I mean, people wouldn't appreciate this probably, but it is okay to be angry because through that you can be healed.
Yes.
You can come to understanding as long as you don't stay there.
Right.
It's like, and he will heal your heart. If you truly are giving him your anger and letting go of that, he can heal it for you and move you forward. So you don't stay in that bitterness and that angry, part of that grief. And
one other thing my friend tried to do is take me to a grief group locally. Right, it was soon after, and I would go, and all I could do was cry. And so I didn't stick to that. So I would tell people, don't give up. Because, go back. Because later I did. Because it is so helpful, to be with people that, has been through the same thing.
Yes.
The Facebook groups. Because I am a very private person.
Yes.
And so it's what helped me tremendously,
Yes, and for those that need that touch and that face-to-face, there's several, even in each county, there's several groups that you can find and go to. And like she said, a pastor or church is a great place to start. Also, if you don't have one, go to a local church, and they'll certainly help you. And it's great that you were able to share with us that today. I love the fact of what you said, though. In all of this, I'm sure it was chaotic. It was probably just heart-wrenching, I know, and but the love of God showed through, and not only to you, but to your kids. That is just our God that we serve. Is such a loving thing. So I'm so grateful, and I know it's not easy for you to come and share this today, and I know that all of the folks out there, the widows, but we've got some good news because you're engaged again. On the flip side of giving hope, you can let them know that's okay too. So share with us what that looks like a little bit, how God's working in your life on that.
Well, he's a wonderful man, a family man, cares about his children tremendously. So that's one of the things I love about him.
Yes.
And he's always been so supportive. He's just been there for me, and he's been through my sadness, and he's been through it all with me.
Just a shoulder to cry on.
He's still around.
That is great. That is good. And he
Yeah.
puts a smile on your face
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
love in your heart again. And that's so good. It's good to share with the ladies, you know, and the folks watch it, and even for your children to have someone, you know, else to love that loves them back. That is so special.
Right.
You know, beyond what most kids would even imagine. But, you know, as it comes in, they'll know what it means.
Right.
You know, that is so wonderful. I'm so grateful that you came today and talked with us and shared that. And as I said, just sharing that hope, you know, because as you said, I heard you say it, and you said they understood. You know, they were there. I guess you could say they knew what you were going through. At the same time, they loved you through it.
Right.
So I think that's so good. That's so special.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know, often someone said, well, what would you say to someone, you know, like me that you go that, you know, and I'd say, you don't really have to say anything, just being there. It's huge. You
Yes.
know? And, so-
Often, and that's I talk a lot, so I close my mouth in situations like that, because I think the wrong word is worse than just giving the hug. You know, it's kind of like one of those things. It was like, just give them a hug and show them love. And at that point, so I'm so glad that you told people that, and you know, because often as we come and to comfort others like yourself, it's just hard to know what to say or what to do, but just loving on them, giving that love and support, like you said, so important. Well, thank you so much for coming today and sharing with us. And we have several podcasts every month, and you can get those at debbieterry.com. You can visit the podcast in the past, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.